Hey y'all, it's Gypsy. Finally doing Temperance. I know it's taken me forever and ever. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I've just been trying really hard to get my new computer, to where I can do my videos and do my intros and all that. I'm just not there yet, so I gave up, and I decided to just keep doing it on this computer until I finish the series, and I'll do my other videos on the other computer. So I do have several that I have recorded, so I'm going to be posting videos besides my Art of Tarot series for the next week or two. It's probably going to be a little while before I do the next installment of this series again, because I do want to get these other videos edited and put up. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to it. I didn't do a scorecard this time because whenever I got all my stuff out, it's been so long, I thought I already had it done, and I didn't. And I'm sitting down and I'm doing the video right now. So I was like, well, I'm not just going to do it without a scorecard. I didn't want to waste any more time. So I don't have numbers. I can't tell you this was, the most weighty, this was the next weighty. I think we can all guess what the most weighty one is going to be. One that's been the weightiest many, many times. So we'll get there in a minute. But let me go ahead and show you what the Rider-Waite-Smith card looks like. And here it is right here. I know my glare is kind of bad, but you can see here there is an angel with big angel wings. And we have 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the ground. And then we have the 2 cups. And then this one, the water is flowing at kind of a precarious angle, which is, something to note. According to Rachel Pollack's book, 78 Degrees of Wisdom, which I use as my reference for this particular series, this represents the ability to combine spontaneity and knowledge. So being able to balance your yin and your yang, you're crazy and you're responsible, you're up and you're down. It's the ability to combine, different aspects of your life in a good way that is useful and helpful to you. So in that regard, it has sort of an allusion to alchemy. And there's actually a really interesting card in this collection, and I will bring it up whenever I get there. But it definitely, has that alchemy feel to it. The other thing we see is that we have 2 mountains in the background. Now, it's hard to see it in this, but if you look in the background here, there is a trail that leads between 2 mountains, and then there's a sun that's rising there. If you can Google an image of it, you probably have better luck seeing it. But there is that path, and then here we have this greenery and, the yellow flowers. So that is the Temperance card. And those are, the main things. One other thing to note about this angel is that it is pretty much androgynous. We can't really tell if it is a girl angel or a boy angel. And we notice that there's several cards that hang on to that aspect. There's others that the girl's either the angel is either a girl or a boy, but in a lot of them it is androgynous. So we can't really tell if it's a girl or a boy. It doesn't really matter. Again, with the balance, you don't want to have, in my opinion, it seems like it would probably be good not to have just a male or just a female energy in this particular card. But I do see a lot of women in these. Actually, now that I've said that, I don't think I see as many androgynous people as I see the women. So, interesting. Anyway, there is the Temperance card. Other things to note, the cups are the same color in this card. They're both gold. They're not like that in all of them. In fact, they go another direction. In some of the cards, we see fire and water. So we see that kind of balance there. So that's something else, to kind of watch for, is that some cups are 2 different colors. Some are just fire and water. We definitely see polar opposites is kind of the point of this card, is combining the opposite aspects of yourself. Being able to get in touch with your masculine and your feminine. I also made a note that whenever we see the fire and water, that actually came from I gotta look at the Builders of the Adytum by Paul Foster Case, and it was illustrated by Jesse Burns Park. I do not have a copy of that deck, but evidently that's where we started seeing fire and water being combined. So that is a deck that was done separately from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And I did not take a note if it came out before or after. I think it was after. But we start to see that come into tarot. Like I said, I don't have it, so I can't show you an example of it, but you can go look that up easy enough. Okay, so we're going to start out with the older cards, as we always do. First we have the Visconti and the Minchiati from 1450, circa 1450. And here we see These are really two very different representations. And I think it's kind of cool that the Visconti Tarot is very different from what we expect. Okay, so this is the Minchiati Tarot. As you can tell, we're having a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction here. This isn't the first one you're gonna. This isn't the last one you're gonna see. We have the classic two pictures, one pouring into the other, and the angle of the water just seems really direct. It's not going towards the earth like you would expect it to. It's kind of at an angle. So that was an aspect of this card from a very, very early day. We also notice here that it is obviously a woman. No mistaking that. So we don't have the androgyny thing yet. That has not come into play. We just simply have a woman here. And she is combining these two vessels. Another thing that I noticed whenever I was reading Rachel Pollack's book, and I didn't say this a minute ago, is that one of the urns is apparently supposed to represent the sun, and the other one represents the moon. So that also can still be connected to fire and water, but before those cards, started to be seen, the fire water cards, the two jugs actually represented the two different types of energy. It's just not as obvious because they look kind of the same. They're just different shapes. So that's Minchiati Tarot. Next we have the Visconti, and the Visconti is very different. In the Visconti, she doesn't have any pictures. There's no urns, there's no cups, there's nothing. She is holding on to the moon, or a moon-shaped something there up above, and then we see that she's holding on to her, the ropes, I guess, or the ribbons that are coming off of her dress. I'm not really sure exactly what the symbolism is there as far as how that relates to the, fire and water. Obviously, I get the moon thing. Okay, I didn't miss that. But, what's going on with her other hand, I don't really understand that one as much. I would welcome anyone to give some thought. I love whenever you guys comment on this stuff because it's like really good food for thought. You guys have got great ideas. So work with me on this one. Let me know what you think about, this representation of the Temperance card, because it kind of stumps me a little bit. Then we go to 1750, where we have the Marseille Tarot, and here you can see that now we have angel wings. The Temperance girl has become an angel. And she's still pretty feminine looking, so I'm not going to go with androgyny just yet. That's definitely a woman. And we have our pictures, and they are still flowing. Apparently the Visconti Tarot missed the memo that you're supposed to be pouring something into something in this card. They didn't do that. This one does. It goes back to that again. So we still have the greenery in the background. So you can see that it's very similar, and now we have this angel aspect to it. So that's pretty interesting. Obviously, religion was coming into play here more. Now we go into the modern cards, and of course, as is expected, the Illuminati Tarot was the one that, at a glance, whenever I started looking at it, was definitely the most like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So here's this. You can see, there you go. The water is even crazier in this card. I'm just letting you kind of just take it in. Now, there is an aspect to this card that was also brought in with the Bota deck, which is what I'm going to refer to it as. It's usually abbreviated because nobody wants to keep saying the Builders of the Adytum Tarot, but the Builders of the Adytum Tarot actually did bring in also the aspect of the rainbow, or that symbolism. So we see that here in this card. So Eric Dunn, when he did this deck, he didn't just use the Rider-Waite-Smith as his inspiration. He obviously did a little bit of homework and included this rainbow that came in with that other deck, with the other tarot deck that I mentioned. So the cups are still both gold. You can see here it's very similar, even to the fact that it has this this symbolism here on the chest. I don't know if you can see, there is a triangle here. I didn't really go into that too much in the symbolism because I believe this is probably the only card I have that retained that triangle. But that also has, obviously some symbolism to it. That is so blurry you can't even see it. I don't even know why I'm bothering trying to show you that. So anyway, you can see pretty plainly here how close they are. But we've added the rainbow up here. Or up here, I should say. Let me move this so that I'm not confused. Oh my God. It's really hard to see in this, but there is still this path that's coming up in the background here that's leading. It's actually a forward movement. You're supposed to be, it's like it's symbolizing coming into reality, coming into the real world, manifesting it in reality, making things really happen. So that is, that's what that path means. I skipped over that earlier. But then we still also have these flowers that we saw in the Rider-Waite-Smith card. The androgyny throws me off here. This isn't really as androgynous because it's very masculine, obviously. I mean, women don't have, you know, abs. Well, he's got a chest. There's no boobs. It's a man's chest. Very masculine body, but the face is freaking me out. I struggle with this particular card because the face kind of freaks me out on this. It's like a woman's face. Like, if you're not looking at any of this, that looks like a woman's face. If it's a dude, that's a really feminine looking dude. So I guess that's the, you know, it's like it's androgynous, but it's not. It's, you know, it's kind of, it's like a he-she kind of thing. Is that offensive? Sorry, I don't mean it that way. Okay. So now we go on to the next one, and this is actually one of my favorites. I just think it's a really pretty piece of artwork, and it is the Steampunk Tarot by Barbara Moore and Ali Feld. And so here we see the beautiful wings, which I want to note are actually reddish, kind of like we saw in the Rider-Waite-Smith card. So that's kind of, I always love red. I always look for red in cards. Y'all know this already. I love it. And so, you know, when I see it, I'm always like, oh, look, red. You got red wings. That's awesome. Doesn't have cups. She's got these cool little water wheels that are spinning just above her hands. It's like she's just magically holding them there. And the water is kind of cascading from the middle out. So looking at it, I mean, that is impossible. That is a physical impossibility, what's going on in this card right here. But yet we see it. I think this is a really cool way to represent that that sense of balance, that sense of the alchemy, the combining of things that, you know, maybe don't just want to go together all the time. You know, making different aspects of your life or your, you know, psychology, making it work together, making it do something productive. So we still have kind of a, not mountains in the background, but we definitely have a symmetry going on here where there's a balanced environment. And then on top of her head, we see a little circle there, like a glowing circle, kind of like we see like with infinity signs and stuff, but this is a perfect circle. Again, you know, showing a sense of balance. So, very pretty card. Very pretty. Tarot of Vampires. Now, all of these that I'm showing you in this first group have, I'm sorry, my nose itches. My hair has just been cut and it's making me crazy. I feel like I have hair like all over my face, so I'm going to touch my face a lot. Sorry. Okay, Tarot of Vampires. We have wings. All of these in this first group are going to have wings. That was kind of what I picked out, was something that I noticed first of all was 2 cups and wings. Now, this one doesn't have 2 cups. But there is still that sense of, actually there's kind of a fire-water thing going on here. We have an arrow up here, which is a weapon, but, you know, I don't know, and red, lots of red. And then we have the cup here. So, you know, I mean, if you're thinking about, you know, suits of the tarot, the arrow kind of makes me think of the wand, which represents fire. Then you have the cup, which obviously represents water. So you kind of get that fire-water aspect there. But yet this is really hot and it's flaming. So all kinds of cool stuff going on in this card. I love this Temperance card. This is really, really cool. I like the balance. Oh, and we also have, well, we don't have a path necessarily. You can see this is like a doorway back here into like a lit-up cave or something like a mine. It looks kind of like a mine shaft. So that's something else to note. You still have that portal, that emergence, that sense of an emergence of some sort into the world that we're in. Awesome. Next is the Archeon Tarot. Now this one again, no cups. This actually still has that, is dichotomy the right word? Duality. Here we go. It still has that sense to it because we have the lion and the lamb here, or in this case, tiger and the lamb. A big cat, an animal of prey, and prey. And they are sitting there very harmoniously with our angel, which is obviously also a female. So, like I said, lots of females. Not a lot of androgyny now that I'm looking back on it. We have the wings. We you know, like I said, we don't have the, it is a little bit different. It's a much simpler card. It doesn't have near as much symbolism, but I think it still does a great job of, you know, getting that message across. Next we have the Revelations Tarot. This is a really, really cool, I love this deck because of the way that everything is reversed. But here we see you know, a figure. And now we can go back to androgyny here because you can't really tell if it's a girl or a boy. But again, rather than having cups, we have these two kind of like smoke rings that are coming out. And if you look at it really closely, on one side, it looks like it's more smooth, like it's water and flowing. And on this side, it looks like what? Fire! So that is a really beautiful way to represent this. Now, if you turn it over to look at the reversal of Temperance, for those of you who are interested in reversals, you can see there that the Temperance has the hands up and things are off balance. We have a small bit of flame here, and then we have a large, you know, kind of plume of flame of smoke or whatever over here. And so that balance has been lost. And there's a little bit more of a sense of chaos or imbalance. See, the wings aren't symmetrical. There's no symmetry in this anymore. I like the Revelations Tarot. Bohemian Gothic Tarot. Surprise, it's really dark. Here we have the angel. We have a woman. And she is standing on, it looks like she's standing right on the edge of the water. So this one does not show her having her foot in the water at all. You see here, this is the edge of the water that runs right here. There's no foot in the water, so they left that out of this one. But she still has her 2 cups, and she is pouring what looks to be blood from one cup to another, but it doesn't have that precarious looking flow that looks all weird and doesn't really go with physics. This, you can't really see where the water is pouring. You just see that she's pouring one cup into another. And then you have the water flowing here, and then you have these skeletons piling up over there. That's kind of wicked. So there's the Bohemian Gothic Tarot. Now the next 3 cards are all from Ciro Marchetti decks. All of his are very similar in the way that he represents Temperance, in that he uses fire and water consistently. Every one of his cards for Temperance has fire and water. Only one of them has cups. First I'll show you this is the Tarot of the Divine Legacy of the Divine Tarot. I always say that wrong. Legacy of the Divine Tarot. So you see here we have an angel that is suspended. And this is different because the perspective is different. The angel isn't just facing us straight out like in most of these cards. This one has the angel is turned slightly and, you know, they aren't looking at us. The angel doesn't acknowledge us or see us. But we see there very clearly there is fire in one hand and water in the other. And there are no cups. It's just all just barehanded fire handling. That's a tough angel right there. So that's a really pretty, I really like that representation. I love the stars on the ceiling. And we still have this portal, you know? I mean, if you think about it, he's got this stained glass window where the sun is coming in. We still get that sense of an arrival of some sort. You know, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of aliens or something, but it's a window. It's a way through. It's a way into something or out of something. Next we have the Tarot of Dreams. This one again, there's no cups, so obviously a woman, and we have fire and water in these rings that she's kind of got suspended around her. We've got a pretty background back here. We still have our trees and our greenery, and then up here we have the moon. So I like this one. Oh, and we have the rainbow. We have the rainbow still, and it looks kind of the way that he arranged things. You know, and I didn't really notice this before, but now I'm looking at it in the camera. It looks like the shape of a heart. Do y'all see that? The way that the elements are arranged in the cards. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Ciro. That was a little something I didn't notice before. So anyway, but we have that rainbow from the Bota deck. Then this is the Gilded Tarot. Now this, I got a new deck again. I'm doing a separate video on it. The Gilded Tarot Royale. So I'm not using the regular Gilded Tarot anymore. I'm using my big fancy Royale cards. So here is the new Gilded Tarot Royale Temperance card. And again, we have a woman. He covered her back up and gave her her modesty back. But he took her wings away. There's a price to pay for everything. And then he has the fire and water, but they're in 2 different color cups. So to me, you know, the silver, I think of the moon when I think of silver. And so by doing this, it's like he brought in the moon and the sun and the water and the fire. You know, so he's got it all covered. You know, he still has that big moon in the background, and then, you know, of course, there are 2 mountains. He did keep 2 mountains. You still have a very symmetrical background there. So, good job on that, Ciro. I like the redo. Now, this one has wings, but it doesn't have a person. This is the Tarot of the Wild Unknown. And here we have a stork, which is a really awesome bird. Stork, crane. Crane, heron. Oh my god. Somebody tell me what the hell this bird is. I'm having a brain fart. I can't think of... Duh. Anyway, we have a water bird. We have a waiter. And we've got the fire and the water there. So that's... I love all these cards. You're going to get tired of hearing me say this. I just really... First of all, I love the Temperance card. Okay, that's my birth card. It's a special card to me. And I really like the way that this card is usually represented in most decks. I am going to have issue with some of them later. You know which ones, probably. But, you know, as for this one, Wild Unknown, can't go wrong. I don't think there's any card in that deck I don't like. Okay, then we have the Tarot of the Magical Forest, and this is also still very Rider-Waite-y. We have one mountain, though. We don't have two in the background, and we don't have our little path anymore. We have our little lamb, and our little lamb has the, you know, the standard wings and cups, and there's that one little foot sticking in the water, and one little foot up on land, and then we have the flowers, and we have the sun. So we have basically, you know, most of the elements that came in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I just think that's so cute. Love that cute little deck. Okay, Deviant Moon Tarot. Now this one has a cup, but it's got a bowl as its other receptacle. So we have two vessels of some sort, but one is basically just like a plate or a bowl, while the other is much more like a regular cup. You know, again, we have mountains in the background. Oh, we do have the water with one little piggy in the water here. So he did keep that. He kept a couple of the elements. Again, it's like the Archeon Tarot. It's a much simpler version, and there's not near as much symbolism seen in there as we do see in some of the other cards. But, you know, the Marseille Tarot, those original ones didn't have a lot either. Now we get to my Paulina cards. This one's pretty standard. This one has wings. This is the Paulina Tarot. This has, the two cups, and it looks like, you know, we've got the fire and water thing going on. She does have wings. I don't know if you can see them very well. They're kind of behind her blue hair. And then we have the epitome of balance. She's actually balancing. Look at that. Like a little circus performer. Look at her standing on that little bud. Anyway, very cool, very symmetrical, very balanced. You know, definitely has that sense to it. And this actually makes me think of DNA, which makes me think of science, which makes me think of alchemy. God, that's what it is. And then this one is even more alchemistic. I like my new word, alchemistic. It involves alchemy. Write that down. Joie de vivre. We have the fire and the water right there up on her head. We have a clock in the middle. I always like to see clocks because I just think that adds a really neat element to it with the passing of time. As time passes, you get better at these things. We have the sun and the moon, but their colors are reversed. So that is a pretty awesome little feature there. Love it on that. We have the wings. They're just down lower. Why she has wings on her hips, I don't really know. And then we have the two theater masks, which I think is really, really cool. A cool way to do that. This actually reminds me of Nightmare Before Christmas. You know, the mayor and how he has like his happy face and his sad face. That's what that kind of makes me think of, because he's always kind of switching back and forth between being freaked out or, you know, upset, or being like totally happy and everything's great. And then finally, this is like the alchemiest alchemy to one, because we have a beaker and we have a, you know, little, what do you call it? A glass bottle for science stuff. Flask? I don't know. What do you call it? It's not the Erlenmeyer flask. That's like the rectangle. I don't even know my shapes. The triangle shape. That's the Erlenmeyer, right? Come on, nerds. Back me up. I can't remember. I think that's what it is. That's completely off topic. Okay, and then down here we have the flowers and the greenery. And look, we've got this gnarly little skull down here. It's like, did you just throw that in for something? Well, you have life and death. I get it. I get it. I get it. You have the flowers at the bottom, and then you have the skull, and there's a bone over here too. You can't really see it very well in the video, but life and death, balance. This card is like totally all about balance. Balance, balance, balance. Awesome. That's an awesome card. Okay, then we have the Alchemy 1977 Tarot. Alchemy, 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 alchemy. I'm going to say that word a lot in this video. We see that there are wings, but she's really just chilling. She's just chilling on a rock. There's no cup. She's not pouring anything anywhere. She's like, no, I'm done. Y'all missed it. Just takes a picture. But no, she's very beautiful. She has this really awesome tattoo on her back, and she's got the cool flowers in her hair. You know, I don't know. I don't get the same sense of balance. I love the picture. The picture's gorgeous. But I don't get that same feeling from this card that I get from the other ones so much. This is the Shadowscapes Tarot, and again with the fire and the water. That's pretty obvious. She's got this awesome globe down here, and there's no wings. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, there are. There's angel wings. So we still have an angel. We still have wings. We do not have cups, but we do have this ball here that's got this energy, and it's this dragon energy that's coming out, and you can see their heads up here. But one is obviously fire and one is water. And I don't know if she's capturing them into that ball, or if she is just, grabbing their energy. She may be letting it go. That's actually a blue dragon and a yellow phoenix is what that is. It's really hard to see in the camera. That's why I didn't notice it at first. But, again, I like this one. I like some of the other ones a little bit better. It's not my favorite Temperance card, but I do really like the artwork. Just because I just love this deck. It's just pretty. Then we have the Hidden Realm Tarot. And this was pretty simple. I like this one, though. Y'all know me. I'm not a huge fairy person. This one doesn't look like a fairy, though, because of it's like woodland folk or something. But she's got the two glasses. Not a weird angle. She's just combining two cups, pretty normally. Pretty vanilla. It's pretty vanilla. And then we've got dragonflies, which, to me, dragonflies always say it's kind of like the butterfly. It's like a transformation, but, maybe not quite as grand a transformation as one would think of with a butterfly. It's more of a humble type of a transformation. So I kind of like having the dragonflies in there. I like that as being part of the Temperance card because, not every change we make in our lives is dramatic and noticeable. Sometimes it's subtle and sometimes it's a modest change. But it's still, it's still relevant and it's still meaningful. And so I think that that's really cool. I like seeing, to me, that's kind of what the dragonflies represent, like a modest, more of a subtle transformation. Then we have the Light Gray Tarot. I decided to add this to it. I don't really care for this Temperance card as much. I mean, it's cool. It makes me feel like I want to go jog. Makes me want to go work out and listen to headphones. Because it looks like that's what that person's doing. Rory Rance did a review of this deck, and in the review, she kind of made the comment that it was like, the Light Gray Tarot, for those who don't know, I'll go ahead and preface by saying this, it's a tarot deck that it's an indie deck, and it was made by this artist group, and a different artist did every card in the deck, and so it doesn't match, there's no flow of style from card to card. Excuse me. And so anyway, this one is one of those ones that Rory referred to as, it's like the artist waited till the last minute to do the assignment for the deck and was like, oh crap, I gotta pick something here, use this for it. I kind of get that feeling from this Temperance card. There is a sense of balance. I mean, it's not completely off. It's not like I think they just picked something random out of their portfolio and said, here, use this. I mean, there was some thought that went into it, but it's not my favorite representation of Temperance. There are other cards that portray that balance much better, I think, than this one does. I don't know. It's just, I'm not a fan of this particular style of art. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, it's arbitrary. Everybody's got an opinion. So, here's The Hobbit. Once again, I don't really like it. I think it's a crappy version of a card, and I don't like looking at it. It makes me mad. Hobbit people who love this deck, give me something. Comment. I got nothing. I don't like this Temperance card. Change my mind. I don't even have anything to say. It just doesn't even make sense to me. Vertigo Tarot. We got another wardrobe malfunction. There's that one titty hanging out again. Lovely. I mean, it's a nice one, but, still. It's like, why is it there? We have hair. We have hair hanging from the top here. This is human hair, it looks like. Yes. These cards are so glossy, the glare is ridiculous. We still have kind of a sense of balance. We have this framing sort of. It's not. They're not wings. It's just some sort of a border on it, I guess you could say. I'm not really sure how to describe this. And then we have one hand. We have these clippings that kind of put together face, and then I'm sorry, we have two hands. I lied. Two hands, and then we have these gold bowls that are kind of pitching water back and forth between them. So, you know, they still represented it. They represented Temperance, but it's a very weird card. This is like the weirdest deck. I swear it's like the weirdest deck I own. Like some of the art, some of the images in it, it's just like, God, it's just so weird. It reminds me of the Pixies. You remember the Pixies? Their album Doolittle? Does anybody remember the Pixies and their album Doolittle? Okay, well, the case, the album case, and the little pamphlet and everything come in it, they have all these crazy weird pictures of like pieces of rope with like teeth and, you know, things like that. That's what the Vertigo Tarot really reminds me of. It really reminds me of the Doolittle CD case. There you go. Random Thoughts by Gypsy. Alright, and then we have the Inner Realms Tarot. Yeah, I get it. It's got balance. It does show balance. And the words on here are healing, merging, chemistry, fluidity. I like that word merging. You know, it's more interesting of a word than combining, I guess. But it does say chemistry, which I think alchemy. But, you know, yes, definitely a combination there. And we do have that balance with the purple and the green. I like those two colors together. I think they're a good contrast. So I don't mind looking at this card as much as some of the others. I mean, you know, again, Inner Realm is very, you know, kind of out there for me as far as, you know, the imagery goes. But I can tolerate this one. I don't really hate it. I don't think it's like, I mean, it makes sense. I get it. I like this one. It's okay. Okay. Then we have, I have two left. I have the Wildwood Tarot. This is a pretty neat way to depict Temperance. We've got two little dragon snakey things here that are wrapped around this tree, and down at the bottom you can see we have a face down there at the base of the tree in the mold and algae or whatever. You know, really pretty card. Definitely, you know, portrays that balance. I like this tree here in the middle, kind of giving that anchor. I get a sense of, you know, this is a rock right here that this face is carved in. So that gives me a sense of like there is a base, there is a core. Everyone has their core person, who they are. But, you know, in the course of developing during one's lifetime, you remain that core person. You know, most people don't completely just lose their personalities or their essence. But at the same time, you know, there's things that go on the outside, on the perimeter, that are tweaked and changed and that, you know, make or break people, depending on what kind of choices they make and how well they balance out their different extremes within themselves. So, pretty card. Thank you for that. And then finally, I have the Steampunk Gods of the Machine. And this one doesn't really have a single figure in it. It has two figures, and they themselves contrast. We see a man on one side, and then he has his robot friend on the other side. Beneath them, you see down here we have, looks like we have these archways, and one has lightning in the background and one looks like it has rain. So we still kind of have a contrast between that electric energy, that, you know, spark versus the water. And then of course the infinity sign is in that lightning up there at the top. Can't miss that. And the big red wheel, I don't know I haven't read the guidebook for this, so I'm not going to go into all that, but I do notice I like the fact that it's got those two. It's like, here's an infinity sign, but then you also have the shape, you know, going through the card, and so I totally messed up. I can't trace backwards. But you see that, you know, it still gives the card a sense of balance, because there's not just that one central circle. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I think that's a cool one. It's very different, very off the beaten path, very out of the box. So that's kind of neat. That's all I have, y'all. Y'all waited that long for that video. I'm really sorry it took me so long. You know, like I said, I'm working through things. I have figured out my software, and it is a lot faster. So once I get some of my stuff that's set up that I'm going to tag onto every video, like I do my little intros and stuff, it won't take me near as long to get my videos up anymore. So thanks for being patient, and thanks for watching. And if you like this series, please subscribe, and you can look and check out the next one when I post it in another month or whatever. No, I'll try not to take that long again. Anyway, you guys be blessed and have a great weekend, and I'll see you later. What was I saying? What was I saying? Anyway.